In Nnnewi, there is a piece of land that has belonged to the Dike family for 4 generations. It was first cleared by Emeka's great-grandfather. It has red soil and 3 old mango trees, and a view of the hills that changes color every evening as the sun goes down. It is not large, perhaps half a hectare. It is not particularly developed, but it is worth, in the current property market around Nnnewi, approximately 40 million naira. And on the day Emeka Dike signed that land jointly to his Lagos wife as a token of love, in the first flush of marriage, his father Chief Dike did not know. When Chief Dike found out, 3 months after the settlement, he said something that was reported back to Amara by a cousin of Emeka's who was quietly sympathetic to her situation. He said, "That woman will not keep 1 inch of Dike land. Not 1 inch." And then the letters started coming. Let me introduce you to someone new in this episode. Her name was Nneka Dike, Emeka's younger sister. 35 years old, an accountant, based in Onitsha. Unlike her father, Nneka was not a loud person. She did not make speeches. She did not send letters. She drove to Lagos. She called Amara 2 days before and asked for a meeting, not with lawyers.
"Just the 2 of them," she said.
Amara agreed, with Funk's cautious blessing. They met at a restaurant in Ikeja. Nneka was slender, well-dressed, with a kind of careful poise of someone who had grown up being the sensible one in a family of performing people. She ordered water. She got straight to the point. "I want to say first," she said, "that I think what my brother did was wrong. Completely wrong. I told him so when I found out. I am not here on his behalf, and I am not here on my father's behalf, even though he thinks I am." Amara waited. "I am here because my father is about to do something that will cause more damage than the original problem," Nneka said. "He has engaged a lawyer to challenge the land title on the grounds that Emeka acted without family consent and that you, as a non-member of the Dike family, cannot hold title to ancestral land under customary law. That argument will not hold in a civil court," Amara said quietly. "No," Nneka agreed. "But my father is not thinking about civil court. He is thinking about community pressure, about involving the Nnewi clan heads, about making you uncomfortable enough that you walk away." Amara looked at her. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. Nneka was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Because I am tired of watching my family use power to cover shame. And because you did not deserve any of this." The letters from Chief Dike's lawyer began arriving the following week. The first was formal, a claim that the land had been registered without family council approval and that the transfer was therefore void under customary Igbo property law. The second was less formal. It was addressed personally to Amara and written in a tone that managed to be simultaneously legal and threatening, suggesting that Amara's continued claim to the land would be seen as an act of hostility toward the Dike family and community, and advising her to consider the wisdom of peaceful resolution. Amara read the second letter twice. Then she filed it in the folder with the forensic report. Funk prepared a response that was 12 pages of very precise Nigerian civil property law. In the meantime, Amara received 3 phone calls she had not asked for. The first was from a church elder she had never met who said he was a family friend of Chief Dike's and wanted to appeal to her better nature. The second was from Emeka himself, who she did not answer. The third was from a man who identified himself only as someone who knows the area, who said she should think carefully about her safety in Nnnewi if she ever visited. She reported that third call to the police and to Funk immediately. The police response was unhelpful. Funk's response was not. Funk filed a formal harassment complaint and applied for an injunction preventing Chief Dike's representatives from contacting Amara directly. The injunction was granted. Chief Dike escalated. He contacted a prominent Igbo community organization in Lagos and requested that they intervene as mediators, which, in practice, meant that Amara received a formal invitation to a community mediation session where she would be expected to sit before a panel of elders and justify her position. Amara called Ngozi. "He is trying to move the argument from the courtroom to the community hall," she said, "where he has more influence." Ngozi was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Then we also need someone in the community hall." What Ngozi said next surprised even Amara. "My father," Ngozi said slowly, "was a district council member in Benin City for 12 years. He knows half the traditional council leaders in Edo and Anambra. If Chief Dike wants to play the community card, perhaps we should play it too." The mediation session was held on a Saturday morning in a community hall in Surulere. The hall was large and old and smelled of wooden floors and decades of gatherings. Chief Dike arrived with 3 family members, his lawyer Barrister Nwosu, and 2 community elders from the Nnnewi Association. Amara arrived with Funk. And, with Ngozi, the sight of both women together, the first wife and the second, side by side, presenting a united position, produced a visible effect on Chief Dike's delegation. The two community elders looked at each other. Barrister Nwosu shuffled his papers. The lead mediator, a retired judge named Justice Okafor, small and precise, with the particular dryness of a man who had heard everything twice, opened the session and asked each side to present. Barrister Nwosu went first. He laid out the customary law argument.
Ancestral land.
Family council. Traditional protocols. It was a careful argument, tightly made. Under purely customary frameworks, it had some weight. Funk presented the civil title document. Registered. Dated. Witnessed. Valid under the Land Use Act. Then Ngozi spoke. She was not a lawyer. She spoke as herself. She said, calmly and clearly, that her husband had contracted a legal statutory marriage with another woman while already married to her, a criminal act under Nigerian law. She said that the family patriarch, Chief Dike, had been aware of this arrangement. She said that the same family which now invoked traditional values and family honor had used those same values as cover for fraud and abandonment. She said, the Dike family elders will tell you that a man's domestic arrangements are his private matter. I want to ask those elders, where were you when my children did not eat? Where was the family council when this woman was deceived into a fraudulent marriage? Was tradition important then? Or is tradition only important when it is useful for recovering land? The room was very quiet. Justice Okafor looked at Chief Dike over his reading glasses. Chief Dike said nothing. One of the community elders, an older man who had been listening carefully throughout, leaned forward and said, to no one in particular, the women are not wrong. Chief Dike's delegation requested a recess. During the recess, Nneka, who had come alone and sat at the back throughout the session, walked to the front of the room and whispered something to her father. The recess lasted 40 minutes. When it ended, something in Chief Dike's face had changed. When the session resumed, Barrister Nwosu made an announcement. The Dike family, he said carefully, wishes to withdraw the challenge to the land title. Funk showed no expression. Amara showed no expression. Justice Okafor made a note. But Barrister Nwosu had not finished. The family also wishes to make a formal acknowledgement, he said, of the wrong done to both Mrs. Amara Dike and Mrs. Ngozi Dike. Chief Dike, he glanced at the old man, wishes to say something. Chief Dike rose slowly from his seat. He was a large man. He had always used that largeness as a kind of argument, a physical statement of authority. But standing in the community hall that morning, he looked, for the first time, simply old. He did not look at either woman directly. He addressed the room. He said that his son had brought shame on the family name. He said that he himself had known too much and done too little. He said that the women who sat before him today had behaved with more dignity than his own son. It was not a full apology. It was not the apology either woman had dreamed of. It was partial, formal, slightly addressed to the room rather than to them. But it was something. Ngozi received it with a still face. Amara received it with a still face. They had discussed beforehand that they would not show relief or satisfaction visibly, not because they were not feeling it, but because this was not the end of the story. It was one part of it. The land was secured. The apology was on record. Emeka was not present. He had not been seen in Lagos in 2 months. A contact of Nneka's had reported that he was staying with family in the East, that he had lost the Lagos contract, and that he was not doing well. Amara did not ask for more detail. It was not information she needed. What she needed, she was building. 6 months after the mediation, Amara was sitting in her apartment on Victoria Island, her apartment now, fully titled, settled, on a Sunday afternoon. She had made rice and stew from scratch. She had watched half a film on her tablet. She called Ngozi. They talked for an hour. Ngozi's children were well. Little Chukwemeka had started nursery school. Adiz had won a drawing competition at her primary school. Ngozi had returned to teaching, part-time at first, now full-time. She sounded different from the woman who had stood on Amara's doorstep 11 months ago. She sounded like someone who had put something down. I want to ask you something, Amara said toward the end of the call. Ask, Ngozi said. Do you think we will be friends? For a long time, there was a pause. Not uncomfortable. The kind of pause that is making room for an honest answer. I think, Ngozi said, that we are already the thing we are going to be. We do not have a name for it.
We are not sisters.
We are not exactly friends in the ordinary way. But we have been through something together that most people have not been through. And that makes us something. Something, Amara repeated.
Yes.
Something. Amara smiled. Outside her window, the Lagos afternoon was doing what Lagos afternoons do. Loud, layered, full of engine noise and someone selling something, and a generator starting somewhere. The particular music of the city she had made her life in. She thought about the woman who had knocked on her door 11 months ago. The dust on her sandals. The sleeping child on her back. The brown envelope. She thought about the way Ngozi had said, "I am sorry. Not for coming, but for what he did to you." She thought, of all the things that happened to me this year, that apology from a woman who owed me nothing and gave it anyway was one of the few things that happened exactly right. Under this old baobab tree, let me say this slowly, customary law and civil law can pull in different directions. Tradition and justice can pull in different directions. What a family wants and what is right can pull in opposite directions with tremendous force. But here is what the baobab knows. Force alone has never been able to bend it. Chief Dike had force. He had community relationships, he had a lawyer, he had the weight of tradition, he had 40 years of being a man that other men listened to. He deployed all of it. And two women, who had every reason to be enemies, stood side by side with documented truth and quiet dignity, and the force ran out. Not because the world is fair, not because justice is automatic, but because they did not back down. And they did not allow themselves to be separated. And they had been thorough. Thoroughness, my friends, is a form of bravery. Doing the paperwork is a form of bravery. Going back to the lawyer one more time is a form of bravery. Keeping a copy of every document is a form of bravery. Do not underestimate the quiet, administrative courage of a woman who knows where her files are. The land is settled. The apology is on record. Emeka is absent. Everything should now be quiet. But Amara receives a message. Not from Emeka. Not from Chief Dike. Not from any lawyer. From Adiz, Ngozi's daughter, 7 years old, who has somehow found a way to send Amara a voice note on her mother's phone. The voice note lasts 11 seconds. In it, Adiz says, "Auntie Amara? My mummy said you are a good person. I just wanted to say, thank you for helping my mummy. Mummy is happy now. Bye-bye." Amara listens to it 4 times. And something in her that had been sealed closes again in a better way. Like a wound healing, not like a door locking. Episode 4 of The Second Wife's Secret is called What Remains. It is about what comes after the battle. About who you are when the fighting is done. About the things that survive a marriage ending, and the things that cannot be rebuilt, and the things that turn out to be more beautiful the second time.
Stay.
The baobab is still speaking.